If you are a classroom teacher and you are wondering where kids are, go get them. You're welcome, because you will not believe the difference of the community that will be created when you open your doors. If you're a special educator or a support teacher, find one classroom teacher to try something new with and share the heck out of that. People all of a sudden will be like, oh, hey, I want that. Hey, I want that. Sometimes it feels like working with one person isn't an impact, but like the sea star, what makes an impact to that one, those stories spread. Parents talk, teachers talk. Every time I work with a teacher for the first time, they're like, it was so helpful when I opened my door, I had access to you, another person to do this work with. And every time I do it, they're like, this helped more than just this kid. Sometimes it feels like we can't change everything at once. Find one person, one kid, and show people. If people push back and they've never seen it before, show them what's possible. It's hard to unsee.
Hi friends, it's Tim Villegas. This is Think Inclusive. Who you just heard was our dear friend, Dr. Shelley Moore. Haven't heard of her? Here is some info. Based in British Columbia, Canada, Dr. Shelley Moore is a highly sought after inclusive education researcher, teacher, consultant, and storyteller. She has worked with school districts and community organizations around the world. Her research explores how to support teachers to design for all learners in grade-level academic classrooms that include students with intellectual disabilities using strength-based and responsive approaches. Shelley completed her undergraduate degree in special education at the University of Alberta, her master's at Simon Fraser University, and her PhD at the University of British Columbia. Thanks so much for being here with us today. We appreciate each and every one of you listening to or watching Think Inclusive, MCIE's podcast that brings you conversations with people doing the work of inclusion in the real world. And while you're here, make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you are so you can keep getting Think Inclusive in your feed. In this episode of Think Inclusive, we welcome Dr. Shelley Moore to discuss the challenges and successes in the realm of inclusive education. We get personal, talking about Shelley's experience raising toddlers, and delve deeply into the issues educators face in promoting inclusive practices. We address systemic challenges in Canada and the United States, the importance of community and collaboration among educators, and specific practical steps for advancing inclusivity in schools. We also discuss the concept of independence and agency in students with disabilities, the misunderstandings about inclusiveness, and the role of self-advocacy. Shelley tells us about Outside Pin Consulting, her company aimed at fostering diverse voices and expertise in inclusive education. And finally, Shelley and I talk about mindfulness and how it could possibly help educators in their day-to-day. Before we get into my conversation with Shelley, I want to tell you about our sponsor for this season, IXL. IXL is a fantastic all-in-one platform designed for K-12 education. It helps boost student achievement, empowers teachers, and tracks progress seamlessly. Imagine having a tool that simplifies what usually requires dozens of different resources. Well, that's IXL. As students practice, IXL adapts to their individual needs, ensuring they're both supported and challenged. Plus, each learner receives a personalized learning plan to effectively address any knowledge gaps. Interested in learning more? Visit ixl.com/inclusive. That's ixl.com/inclusive. All right, after a short break, my conversation with Dr. Shelley Moore. Catch you on the other side. Dr. Shelley Moore, welcome
Hello.
to the Think Inclusive podcast.
Thank you. I love coming to the Think Inclusive podcast.
We love having you.
Anytime. I'm always coming to him every time.
That's great. how are you doing right now? Like, you know, do like a body mind check. Like, what's like, how are you? How is Shelley?
That's such a great question. Well, I have two toddlers, if that gives context for any.
Yeah, it does.
Parenting is so hard, and they are almost 2 and 4, and so they are ruling the roost, and they're amazing, and I love them, but I am on a steep learning curve because everything I know about life, they're reteaching me.
And so
So
what
there's
are their ages exactly?
they're 1 and 3, but they turn 2 and 4 in May.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, you are in it
I
right
am
now.
in it, in it. There's no eating alone. There's no sleeping alone. There's no nothing alone. And, I used to like having clean clothes and, brushed hair. No more. No more.
Yeah,
But they're
yeah.
so cute.
They're so cute. They're so
Yeah.
cute.
So there's that. So
Yeah.
that's all encompassing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and things are busy. Things are really busy. Lots of travel, which is great. Working with some pretty incredible communities to do the good work of inclusive education. More important than ever, as you know.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
and I find that like this job can be a little lonely. And so just really making an effort to connect with my people, especially when life feels overwhelming in the world, and remind each other that we got to stick together. And you're one of those people, Tim.
Oh, thanks, Shelley. Appreciate that. That's great. That's great. Yeah, let me reflect with you for a minute here. My kids are 18, 15, and 12.
Oh, you have three.
I have three. Yeah.
I want three, Tim.
Well, you know what? I hope you do. I hope you do. I
You're
don't know
kind
about
of
your
in it
wife.
too, hey?
We're in it. Yeah, we're in
Yeah,
it. That we're in it in a different, well, like so it's like different stages of life
totally.
because like when you have toddlers, it's like you don't get sleep. You still don't get sleep, but like it's just a different kind of like not getting sleep. And then you're like um it's like a lot of routines, like bathroom routines, changing diapers, feeding, all that kind of stuff. And
Yep.
then now it's like taking them everywhere. Like I take we go to cello lessons and we go to my youngest is in color guard. So she does like the color guard practice. And my oldest is in college now and having a good time and really thriving. So we're really excited about that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's we're in it for sure, for sure. And isn't it wonderful to have a partner to
Mhm.
you know to do that with? So
I just
very
like,
happy about that. Yeah.
because my mom was a single mom. And as soon as I
Uh,
became a mom, I'm like, Ma, how did you do this? How did you do this? So just shout out to all the single parents out there. Woo! Because
I
having
know,
a
I know.
partner through
Yes,
this makes it manageable for sure.
exactly, exactly. Um, and then if I can do a little body mind check, having a this has been a difficult week,
Yeah, it has.
Shelley. It's been a difficult week. So just with a lot of the news and I feel like I could say that over the last few years, I could say that any day of the week and it just feels like it's relevant. So
Yeah,
there's just a
yeah.
lot going on. There's a lot going on. But
And
really,
we're
yes.
watching all the things going on for our kids. And and I am scared and want to just help, and I don't know how, and I mean, I have an extra room. You want to bring your family up to Canada for a few days.
No,
Oh, it's scary.
yeah, it's scary. It's scary. But very privileged to be able to not only have a conversation with you, but also do this work
Yeah.
of trying to equip people to be inclusive. And
Mhm.
Excuse me. Um, yeah, being able to do this work and being able to talk to so many different people that want to move inclusive practices forward. So I'd like to start here with our conversation. You talk to a lot of educators from not only in Canada, but in the United States and all over the world. What are you hearing as things that are on top of mind that are important to them, things that they're just trying to figure out right now?
Oh, I think it's really hard to be an educator right now. Um, I know here at home, we're really struggling with lack of resources. Even people who are like, yes, let's do it, let's move inclusion, are just so struggling with the misinterpretation that inclusion is just dumping kids in a room, without any support around professional development and just resources around staffing. And what ends up happening, and you probably see this too, is people start to push back against inclusion instead of advocating for more resources to be used in inclusive ways. And so then what I start to see is, well, there's not enough resources. So then we start to move backwards and be like, okay, let's pool the resources and open all these programs. So that's like where we're kind of at right now in Canada is people just don't know how it's possible with the resources that are available.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike the States, we can't rely on, we don't have any law. We don't have any policy. So, when people are struggling, the goodness of your heart is not enough, right? And so there's just no accountability for, at the government level to provide. And so that's creating a lot of tension and scapegoating inclusion to be the problem instead of other things. And so that's kind of
Where does that sound familiar?
right. Totally.
I
So
don't.
that's a
Yeah.
lot of the struggle. When I do work overseas, it's kind of like inclusion light,
Mm-hmm.
as the schools, they're international schools, they're private schools, and they're starting to see their population change. And there's a lot of fear because they have never served kids with disabilities before. And so they're kind of, you know, dealing with, fear and bias that obviously still exists in North America, but in a different way, because, the population that they're starting to consider is what we started to consider in the 70s and 80s, right? So, populations are changing and demand is increasing. So, so there's a lot of fear over there and wanting to do right and not knowing how.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm in the States, the top of people's minds right now are, how do we do this work when all the funding for DEI efforts are now being threatened and, and being like, wait a second, how do we talk about inclusion of disability and not about race? How do we talk about inclusion of disability and not about like equity work? And so it becomes this mesh of intersectionality and trying to like divide and conquer, and then it just becomes this intersection of impossibility for people. And then what we do is we get overwhelmed and give up, and our mental health is affected and our well-being is affected, and it all kind of at the end of the day is just really awful for kids and families. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's really hard right now. It's really hard right now.
It's really hard right now. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's okay to name that and for people to know that we see that, and I think that we feel it as well, even though I haven't, been in a classroom for quite a while now, but it's something that is on my mind all the time. And this is a random question, but we're gonna go there because I know that you're good with it. So do you personally, this is just
Yeah.
like not even professionally, do you personally do any sort of like meditation or any sort of like
Oh,
mindfulness?
that's such a good question. Um, I probably should do more. You know what I find? Like, just like where my quietness
Uh-huh.
is when I drive. Like,
Okay.
especially after I do have a big workshop day or a big presentation day. Because usually the question is, well, what do you listen to? What are your podcasts? What are your music? And I'm like, honestly, nothing. I sit there with my mind. There's
Hmm.
nothing. I mean, I even turn off the fan sometimes. Um, and that's probably where find my most quiet kind of
Hmm.
thinking times. I probably need to create some spot time where I'm trying to not think. Maybe I'll try to do that while I'm driving. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's no, not really.
Okay.
What
So,
do you make time for that?
um, I do, but most recently. So,
Okay.
what I think, and I'm going to tie it back to education because even when I was in the classroom and
Mhm.
this was, I feel like maybe in the 2010s, social emotional learning was really kind of getting into the literature, and people were talking about like, what does that mean? Mindfulness and stuff like that. And I think even at that time, I was just like, yeah, like
Totally, totally.
that sounds nice, and I certainly I wasn't like this is, um, I wasn't part of the indoctrination crowd, which
Yeah.
is certainly that there's a contingent out there that is like that's all part of the indoctrination, quote unquote. But for me, it was like I don't really know if that really makes a difference, right? And I've been just personal growth wise trying to figure out what that looks like for me. And it wasn't until I had some very practical, like really, really practical things to practice mindfulness and meditation that I was like, oh my gosh, this,
Are you noticing a difference?
yes,
Oh,
for me,
really?
yes,
Oh,
yes,
that is like interesting because just the look on your face right now was just like, this is good.
this is good. This is
Mhm.
good. And I'm not trying to promote any particular thing
Yeah.
necessarily. But I will say I think that there is uh talking about everyone's being overwhelmed and like
Mhm.
reacting to everything. There is something really um calming and grounding about being able to be present and letting things and emotions and situations kind of wash over you as opposed to like completely
Mhm.
like overtaking you and overwhelming you. So I think that that is worth everyone to explore for whatever that means
Well,
for
even
them.
just what you said just sounds so nice. Like just to be present and to not just let emotions wash over you. You know what, Tim? If you
What?
created a podcast of just your voice, about that, I would subscribe.
All right, all right, there we go. A mindfulness podcast with Tim Villegas. There we go. The last thing I thought I would ever do.
I'm in. I'm in. I'm game.
Okay, okay. Um, I think there is something to do whether you find your peace driving without music or walking, without any music. Sometimes I do that, or any of these kind of practices. I think it's worth looking into because we need something practical to get through
Mhm.
um just the world that we live in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm writing it down.
Okay, good. Good. Do it.
Time, space.
Um, Okay, do it. Yeah. Speaking of practical steps that
Yeah.
educators can take, um, are there any things? I'm sure you get asked this all the time. We do too. What can I do? Give me
Yeah.
something new to move inclusive practices forward in my school or district. What
Mhm.
are what are kind of your go-tos?
My number one is find someone to do this with. Find one person in your school to do this with because you can't do this by yourself. Number one, go find someone. Number two, um, when a classroom teacher asks me, what can I do? I say, go down to whatever end of the building houses the students who are not in your class. Go down there and ask for one. Go say, I want one. Give one to me. And because I think there's a lot of assumption that we can't. That's not what we do here. And I was actually had a good friend of mine. She teaches at a high school, And at high school, usually kids are self-contained in life skills programs. And so I asked her, and I'm just like, well, where are the kids with intellectual disabilities in your school? And they're like, well, they kind of like, I think are a part of like gym and art and stuff. And I'm like, well, why aren't they in your class? She's like, well, because they don't register in my class. And I'm like, well, go get one. Go get one. And so she's like, can I? I'm like, go, run, go get one. And so then she texted me a couple days later and she's just like, can I have more than one? I'm like, yes, more than one. And so she went and talked to the department head. And so they're setting up in the fall to enroll 2 students in her economic theory grade 11 academic class with 2 students who have intellectual disabilities. And they put 2 in there so that they could get staffing that would work. And she's like, I'm so excited. And I'm just like, I'll help you. And so I think like sometimes if you come into a school and it's just it's just not something that has been practiced historically, sometimes you don't even realize that it's allowed to happen,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
go get them. And there was another teacher who actually came to me when I was school-based, and he goes, I just feel like there's a voice, I talk about inclusion and equity and diversity, but how can I talk about those things when there's voices in my class that are clearly missing? Like, can I have someone? And I'm like, yes, you can. And so I think, if you are a classroom teacher and you are wondering where kids are, go get them. You're welcome, because you will not believe the difference of the community that will be created in your class when you open your doors. If you're a special educator or a support teacher, I think sometimes you feel like there's no one out there who wants to do the work, right? And so sometimes if you can just find one person, one classroom teacher to try something new with and share the heck out of that, people all of a sudden will be like, oh, hey, I want that. Hey, I want that. I want that. Sometimes it feels like working just with one kid or one person isn't an impact, but like it's like the sea star, the sea star,
Yes.
it makes an impact to that one. And those stories spread, like parents talk to each other, teachers talk to each other. And every time I work with a teacher for the first time, a classroom teacher for the first time, every time they're like, it was so helpful because when I opened up my door, I had access to you. I had access to another person to do this work with. And every time I do it, they're like, this helped more than just this kid. So, I know that sometimes it feels like we can't change everything at once. And so don't. Start small, find one person, find one kid, and just show people. Because if people push back, often they've just never seen it before. So show them what's possible. Because it's hard to unsee. It's hard to unsee.
It is.
That's,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for special educators who are doing, like what you said, this work and doing like the next right thing for their students, it really motivates them and like it helps them to keep going.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you just stop and you're like, well, nothing is going to change, then it's harder to stay motivated. That's kind of why I like going to conferences and like meeting with other like-minded people is so important, because then you get your bucket filled back up and you're like, I can do this. And I'm not the only one who thinks this way, and it's working for them, or, they're doing something really cool. So, I think that's really important. Have you been inspired recently, like with either a story or an idea or anything? Like, what's kind of filling you up right now?
Oh, okay. So what is filling me up right now, and I kind of mentioned it already, is like one thing that I was really missing was a community in this job. And I get to go to a lot of communities and it's amazing. But like I was missing the relationship parts of community that, I would used to get in a school, like the collaboration with families and students and other colleagues. And I was really missing that because that's where I get, like you say, like where my bucket gets filled and when I learn, because I still need to learn, right? And so one project that I'm loving right now is our team is expanding to include multiple expertise. Because here's the other thing. I'm not an expert at everything. I mean, there's things that I can speak to, but like I can't fill all the lanes and I don't want to fill all the lanes. And so, a perfect example is I'm not an early childhood educator, but there's so many questions right now around how do we support students in childcare settings and in early preschool and primary. And I'm like, I like high school kids. My research is in high school area. And I'm like, how do I become an expert in early childhood? And I'm like, I don't need to become an expert in early childhood. Who is someone that I can work with who has aligned philosophy and has that expertise in early childhood? Or, I have always wanted to create space on this platform for self-advocates, you know what I mean? To like have their voice be shared and families have their voice be shared. So we're slowly expanding our team to kind of fill in some of these gaps that I can't fill in. And as a result, I'm working on some incredible collaborative projects that I have just been craving. Like I'm doing inclusion, universal literacy, in inclusive classrooms for a kindergarten class. Me and a kindergarten teacher are working together. I just started working with an inclusive and neurodiverse affirming occupational therapist. So we're doing a project on how to support OT in the classroom. And I'm like, I don't need to become an OT. I need to find an OT that aligns. And so it's kind of creating this lovely little collective. And we're calling ourselves Outside Pins because
Yes.
The metaphor.
Yes.
And,
yes.
so I'm super inspired by that because people are contacting me who want to be involved, and I'm connecting with people who want to be involved. And so when you feel alone and the world feels hard, finding someone who aligns, that you don't have to convince them. Like they're on the bus. So let's do some magic. And we're just getting really great feedback from people who we're engaging with. And so I'm just, it's keeping me going, Tim, I'll tell you.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I love it. Tell me more about Outside Pin, because I think you are Outside Pin Consulting, right?
Yeah, Outside Pin Consulting.
Yeah, because you finished your doctorate. Dr. Moore.
Dr. Moore. So
and and so so now you're kind of in this other phase of taking over the world with inclusion.
So becoming a doctor was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, like even harder than parenting. And so I'm really proud of myself for doing it, but like I still feel a little bit like a fraud. Like I found a cheat code to life because I am not a person who there would have been a path to PhD-dom. Do you know what I mean? Like I was not a person who did well in school in academia at all. And so because of that, I knew that like I didn't feel called to academia in the same way as my colleagues. And so like, and I still teach, like I still teach at University of British Columbia, and I'm still involved in research projects that I love, but that's not everything I want to do. And so a lot of the kind of questions that I had, and it was so funny because where this all came from was I was stuck in LA traffic with Katie Novak. Okay.
I've been there. Not with Katie Novak, but I've been in LA traffic. So yes.
So LA traffic for 2 hours. And Katie Novak looks at me, and her pace. Like her speed is no one's speed. Like she is the most productive person I know. And she looks at me, she's like, so what's your plan? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you have your PhD now, what's your plan? And I'm like, to continue? She's like, no. Go big or go home, Shelley. What are you doing? And so she was like, you need to hire more people. And I had this barrier in my mind that I was just like, what hiring new people, what that would mean is I would train people to do my presentations. Like that's what it looked like in my brain. And I'm like, I have no interest in doing that at all. Like my disclaimer on every presentation I do is that it's not training, because the goal is not to do what I do, right? The goal is to co-construct something that's meaningful for you and your community. Like that's inclusion to me. And I'm like, we are completely compromising the integrity of inclusion if I'm trying to create more me's. Like, that's not the point, right? And she's like, no, don't create more you's. Find allies. Find collaborators who align to you. She's like, give me 3 people right now. Who are 3 people right now that you would want to work with? And so I listed 3 people. She's like, okay, by the next time we talk, you need to talk to them. And I'm like, okay, can you know back? Like, she's like, my personal life coach. And so,
Seriously.
no, I know. And so, because I have a little team that I work with just like for administration purposes, because I have like negative executive functioning skills. And so I ran it past the team and they're like, well, let's try it. Let's do a little pilot. So we started with 3 consultants, a primary teacher, a parent, and a researcher, Katie Jameson, Lori McIntosh, and Dr. Layden Schneller. And we just started to kind of say, like, do you want to be a part of a pilot? We'll work together to build some presentations and see if there's an appetite for that. And there was. And so now we're up to 9 consultants in our little team.
Wow, that's amazing.
Self-advocates and families, and it's just this beautiful. So our goal is that we come together once a year for a creative retreat. And so then basically we're available for presentations and consultations and coaching. And Katie Jameson is a parent, and she just spoke to every teacher candidate out of Simon Fraser University yesterday. And so just opportunities to hear from different voices in knowing that it's vetted under this umbrella of inclusion is the next best thing. Do you know what I mean? There's no compromise here. There's no reason why we're not moving forward. And so just having that confidence is really drawing people to be like, especially times like this where we feel like, where are we going to go? We're just getting some incredible feedback from people just being like, you're bringing some light in a really dark time. And that is just making my heart glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you go anywhere, I'm assuming, not only Canada, but
we go anywhere. Yeah, we go anywhere.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And it's our website is being built right now, but I can definitely send you information about what that means and what that looks like if you want to know more. But it's my big goal was to not make it like a talent bureau. I don't want it to be a speaker agency. It really is a collective of diverse voices. The metaphor of the outside pin is, you stand on the outside looking in, and sometimes you're ridiculed for that, but actually your perspective is a contribution. And so really making sure that we're, gathering the edges, because people are doing this work on the edges, right?
Right.
They're not part of the status quo and mainstream sometimes. And so just really highlighting those perspectives. It's becoming a little passion project, and I'm just loving it. That's
great. That's great. And so excited for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And as MCIE, we are always on board for a collaboration. So putting that out
then
there.
Maybe you'll be getting a little email from my team, my friend.
Yes. Yeah, we will. So there's that. And let's talk about media resources, because you 5 more minutes videos, or you just put one out a few weeks ago.
I did.
About that people aren't supports, which was fantastic.
It caused a stir, Tim.
It caused a stir. Oh, tell me about that stir, Shelley.
I got 2 stirs.
Okay, go ahead.
I got 2 stirs. The first stir was, okay, so when someone is stressed, okay?
Yes.
And they're navigating an education system that's not well resourced.
Mm-hmm.
And then they see a video that says people aren't supports. They kind of hear, oh, Shelley's saying we don't need people anymore. And I was like, nope, that's not what I meant at all. I just meant, let's articulate why we need people, because it'll help our advocacy efforts. So that went real south real fast.
Oh no.
So I have learned to just let the emotions wash over
you.
Someone thought I was working as a government spy. It went deep, Tim. That I was trying to dismantle.
Wow, this is okay. I'm so glad I asked, actually.
No, I know.
This is good. We're stirring things up. Yeah.
All right. So if in hindsight, if I were to change something, because I can be reflective, because it wasn't just one person, maybe I would have changed the title to be less triggering, to be like, how are people support, or are people support, instead of people want support. But part of part of my mission with 5 more minute videos is that they're provoking. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
conversation.
That's the
And
point.
I earned a Facebook badge the other day for stirring conversation on Facebook. So I mean, like
literally, you have a badge
Yeah.
that stirring up
You
conversation.
are a conversation starter. So I'm like, okay, conversation starter. So
okay.
because
That's
as
fun.
you know the research that one-to-one EAs actually inhibit the goals of inclusion, but that's a hard thing to say when people are struggling to find resources to support inclusion. And so I mean, I understand the tension. It's a very valid concern, but
Absolutely.
it wasn't the aim of the video at all.
Interesting. Okay. Was there another? So this
one I think was actually really valid. Like this caused me some reflection, and I'm curious to hear what you think.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So one of the in the video, one of the rationalizing points was that we want to use our adults in ways that facilitate increase in independence. As students, okay?
Yeah.
And so if we're not articulating what people are doing, whether it's support staff or adult or just teachers, anyone, any adults, if we're not articulating what they're doing, what often ends up happening is it becomes do for, not do with. And it becomes a let's finish the task. You know what I mean? It becomes a assimilative process as opposed to a facilitated process. And so the video said we want to increase self-determination in our students so that they feel agency and independence over time.
Yes.
And the pushback was around the word independence. And it was mainly from the medical community that said, my child will never be independent. And so then my response was, well, what's your definition of independence? Because if you're looking at independence through a standardized lens, well, then, yeah, there are some people who will never be independent. But then on my podcast, when I talked to Dr. Leighton Schneller, his question was, well, independent in what? You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's saying that okay, here's the question. So is saying that independence is the goal ableist? Or is saying independence is the goal high expectations?
I would say that it really does depend on your definition of independence.
Absolutely.
But I could see that interpretation.
Right? Me too.
And there's something about, I really learned this from Janice Fialka Feldman. Are you familiar? And she talks about interdependence and her son Micah, and that independence could be misconstrued as like you have to do everything by yourself.
Exactly.
Which is not not how I would frame independence. And I do like interdependence better, just in general, right? But sometimes like that word confuses people too. So, but it's at least as a viewer of the video, and we'll make sure to link that in the show notes so everyone can see that. I think I knew where you were coming from, but I definitely hear the feedback, and I think that's valid.
I think it's totally valid. And because the other point that was brought up around it was sometimes independence is used as a gatekeeper to inclusion.
Yes, for sure.
You're not independent enough to fill in the blank, right?
Yep.
And so when I never thought of that. And so then I was thinking, well, that's not my definition of independence, right? Like my definition of independence is let's co-construct a goal that's meaningful to the actual person, right? But then I'm thinking like, you have to calibrate that understanding before actually using that term within the context. Or I could see absolutely how it could be misinterpreted and become a gatekeeper and super problematic and contaminated. And so I actually really appreciated that feedback. And that one I responded to like, that one I let wash over me. Because then just recently I saw a post on Instagram that was like, what if you substitute the word agency for independence? So now I'm kind of like throwing that around in my head. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and Leighton was saying how agency is like it's a feeling, like you feel like
Yeah.
agency, whereas independence is like the action. So I mean, like, we're getting into semantics, but like intentional vocabulary is so key to this work.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think all of that's really valid and worthwhile to think about.
Isn't that interesting?
That is really interesting.
Mhm.
But also, for you to, produce these videos, really put yourself out there and make a stand on certain, concepts surrounding inclusion. No one else is doing that, Shelley. So thank you so
You don't
much.
think so?
Not the way you do it.
Because you know what? Sometimes I think that I do it too much and I'm gonna get canceled. But these are like
I think we all have different, we all bring our own strengths and gifts to this work, like, because I think before we really knew each other and I saw, this was way back when, and I was like observing the videos. I'm like, I could never do that. Like, that's just, I can't. And I'm certainly a lot closer to being able to do it now, but that's still not my, like, that is not my strength. I feel like my strength is this, having a conversation, asking questions, and then producing it in a way that people can hopefully have a discussion later. Professors and teachers use the videos in the podcasts for like class discussions, and we use it. Our partners will use these discussions to share with staff. So I think that that's kind of where my wheelhouse is. And and other people are really good, like at Instagram Reels, and I am not.
It's so
and that's
true.
okay.
I cannot figure them out. I can't figure them out. So if my little role here in this collective community that we've created and are creating is to provoke and be sassy and to take a stand, sign me up. I mean, I'm a Leo.
There you go. So when's your birthday?
Right up my alley.
When's your birthday?
July 23rd.
July 23rd. Okay. We have a July
very first day.
The very first day. Okay. Yeah. We have two Leos in my, because July 28th. And August 21st, which I think is still like Leo territory.
Right in there. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah.
Well, Tim, I appreciate that, because sometimes when you're provoking, it makes people angry. So, to hear that
I've been there.
Is good. Good to hear.
Been there. Yeah. We've definitely published some things that people are not happy.
They're not happy. And you know what? My wife is very helpful. She'll just be like, put down your phone. No more. Read your response first.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It was so easy to be really be sensitive, like especially first starting out with writing a blog and then like posting on social media. In the early days, it was like you just wanted to respond to every single thing.
Everything. Then, react.
Yeah.
More.
So you just have to. Learned. Remember, you are okay. So here's an image that's really helped me. This is so
okay. I can't wait.
Okay, so I was doing meditation. It sounds so funny because Anyway, so and the practice I was doing was like pretending like you're sitting and like viewing a mountain, right? And the mountain is still, it does not move. And then you are imagining the mountain like move closer and closer and closer to you.
I have to actually do it.
As a okay, so you closing your eyes. All right. So the mountain is moving closer and closer to you and becomes part of your body. So the mountain is the you're the base of the mountain, and the top of your head is the peak of the mountain, right? And so you're just and so you're just taking breaths So breathe. We're just gonna do it. We're gonna do it right here. Okay. So breathe.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, we're gonna do it right now. Okay. So like just breathe out in and out of your nose. Okay, we'll all do it together. In the nose, then out the mouth. One more time. In the nose, out the mouth.
Well, let's just clarify, we're not volcanoes, right?
Right. We're not volcanoes, right? And you're supposed to imagine this breath coming into your nose as like cool coming in and warm coming out, which is like really helpful actually to me. And then you are imagining
Yeah.
yourself as the mountain, right? And so the mountain experiences all these different things, weather, people walking all over it, uh, maybe a natural disaster, but the mountain does not move. The mountain is the mountain, right? And the weather passes, right? Is that not like
no? I would listen to that every night.
Is that
I am
not mind blowing? Like I really it really has helped me.
I mean, I am just gonna like get a t-shirt that says I'm the mountain and wear it every time I release a video.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
You know what I love about that? Is that like when people react, even when I react, right? Especially when I react, there is no room. Like I'm not changing my mind when I react. No one's minds are shifting when you react because it's so just like exploding, right? And so if I can imagine myself as a mountain with reactions happening all around me, that's not going to move. That's not going to move my philosophy. Do you know what I mean? That's not going to move why I made the video or why, you know? And so the difference between like the reactions and then a really good, meaningful comment, like the one around independence, like, okay, this is maybe someone climbing the mountain. I can respond to that.
Yeah.
But no, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's
good stuff.
Mountain.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So before I let you go, before we get to the mystery question, because I'm really excited about this, the podcast, tell me more. So you have videos that are coming out every so often, and then you are doing a monthly podcast. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
So we have started in January with like a monthly schedule of content that balances being a parent to a toddler and maintaining community. So week 1 is we have a book club on Instagram Live, and right now we're reading a book called List of Cages, and our theme was centering neurodiverse voices as a main character. So that was our theme. And there are like 7,000 people in that book club, so you're all welcome to join.
Wow.
And it's chaos, and my children join, and you never know what's going to happen next. But, you know, our slogan is, you don't even have to read the book.
Like we're
the most inclusive book club. You don't even have to read it. And then the second week is the release of a new 5 more minute video. And so there's one coming out on February 8th. And then the third week is a podcast with someone on the Outside Pin team to talk about the video, because I know that the video is provoking. And so the podcast just allows our team to kind of talk about it from our diverse perspectives and get a little bit more nuance there, which is hard to find in the 5 more minute videos. And then the last week of the month is a Q&A. So if there is any good questions or feedback, we do a Q&A live on Instagram stories and Facebook stories. So it's an opportunity just to have some interaction and some responsivity and some connection. And we just went through our first full cycle. There's a newsletter thrown in there. So we're trying to after post-COVID,
listen, that is a lot. Shelley, that is a lot. I don't know how you do it.
A lot, I know, but I have some great team members who are helping me.
Good. That's very good. Yes. Awesome. Well, we're going to put all that information in the show notes and make sure everyone can figure out how they can either join the book club, watch the videos, listen to the podcast, all that stuff. Before I let you go, I want to do a mystery question. We did a mystery question last time, right? I feel like
I'm sure we did
I
because
feel
it
like
sounds
we
so
did.
fun.
It's yeah, exactly. So I have a stack of cards, and it
We did this, yes.
it used to be like this big, like 4 or 5 inches big, and now it's like just a few left.
That's amazing.
And so
Yeah, I'm ready.
I don't know what the question is, and we're gonna both answer it. Here we go. The mystery
Okay.
question is, what are most people afraid of that doesn't scare you? What are most
Um,
people, let's put it to the camera. Let's see if I can, there we go. What are
what are most people afraid of that doesn't scare you?
most people are afraid of this thing, but it does not scare you?
Well, can I just say
Oh,
disability?
that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Um, Something that, you know what? And this, my first reaction was the word change, but that's not true. Like there are elements for sure that change does scare me, but I think specifically in educational contexts, like for me, I think a lot of people fear change, but I'm at this point right now in education that if we don't change, it's not going to work for anybody. It's already not working for so many kids, right? And so I think change is especially as kids get older, something that a lot of people fear, and so they hold on to what they know. But I'm like, let's blow it up.
Let's go. Let's
Let's
go.
go. What about
Nice.
you?
Um, I so the first thing that came to my mind was public speaking. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, like it's always been not a thing. Like I really enjoy presentations. Even when I was
Mm,
a kid, I enjoyed like doing a presentation. And then I got more and more comfortable with it. And then I don't know if we talked about this, but I used to be in like rock bands in high school and in college.
mm,
And part of that performance aspect, it's
mm,
like you just get used to being on stage and like having a microphone. And
mm.
so I think that's probably why I enjoy podcasting, because it's like
Yeah.
very similar to that.
Mhm.
And I forget who I was talking to about this, but like I would rather hold a microphone
Mm.
than be like just talking in front of a audience.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like having a microphone, it's like almost having a mask, right? That it's
Well,
just
it's like your
something.
prop.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So,
Mhm.
but
I
I
never
still
know what to
don't.
do with my hands.
Right, like what
No.
do I do? Yeah. But I enjoy public speaking. So I think a lot of people don't.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what? It's so. Do you want me to end off with a funny story?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. So one question that I often get that's connected to universal design for learning is kind of like if you want kids to show their learning in a different way, a really easy way to do that is to connect with the different literacy languages, right? So you have written language, oral language, visual language. Now, historically, if it wasn't written, those were adaptations. But in UDL, those are just different pathways that have
Mhm.
equal value.
Sure.
Okay. And so I, for example, am not a strong writer, but I can talk all day. And I love visuals, right? But oftentimes researchers, their strength is writing,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so one of my favorite stories about this is when I was in my PhD, I went to AERA in New York City, which is like the biggest educational research conference. And to get in, you get to choose if you want to share your research in a poster, as a presentation, or as a paper. The three literacy languages. So I was in Paris. I'm like, even NYU, AERA, like top conferences, you need to be strong in all three of these languages, right? Now I always pick poster because I can talk all day. But no one likes the posters. They all want to do the paper because that's their strength, right? But there's not enough. So then they get their second choice. So I'm in my poster session because I always get first choice. And the guy beside me is so mad. And I'm like, oh, welcome to the poster session. You're my neighbor. He's grunting. I'm like, where's your poster? He's like, I'll show you my poster. He staples his paper to the wall.
Oh
And
no.
I'm like, aren't you going to stay and talk? He's like, people can read it. And he goes and gets a coffee. And I'm like, this is it. This is it. See, we have to build all of our literacy muscles, speaking, writing, and visually expressing ourselves. Those are not adaptations. Those are adaptability. He was so mad. And I was just like, that's not a poster.
That's not a poster. Okay, so I have some thoughts about that.
Yeah.
And it's making me rethink poster presentations because
I love them.
Yeah, and I'm interested, but it makes sense like as you're thinking about that, because there's certainly times where it's like someone will have been accepted for a poster instead of something else and be like, no. Like it almost feels like it's the lesser.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it is not. It is not, my friend.
But
look at this poster.
You're like turning it around. Wait, are you trying to show me a poster?
Well, yeah, but my chords are it's like
that's okay. Oh yeah, okay. I can kind of see it. I can kind of see the edge of like
my PX poster right there. I look at
it. There it is.
You can only see the word, but I swear there's visuals on it.
Okay.
People see it as a lesser than, and I'm like, oh no, to be able to synthesize your writing to create visuals is a very important skill.
That is really interesting. All right. So we do have a lot of educators and researchers that listen to this podcast. So I want you to take heart, educators.
Oh, poster.
Take heart. When you got accepted for that poster presentation instead of the other thing.
I think it's harder because you have to synthesize in a non-linear way.
Yeah. Great.
But also like to teach our students how to visually communicate is such an important skill.
Yeah. All right. On that note,
I love us. We're so fun.
Dr. Shelley Moore, thank you so much for being on the Think Inclusive podcast.
Anytime, my friend.
That's the final frame of this episode of Think Inclusive. Let's roll into the credits. Think Inclusive is brought to you by me, Tim Villegas. I handle the writing, editing, designing, mixing, and mastering. This podcast is a proud production of the Maryland Coalition for Inclusive Education. Our original theme music is by Miles Kredich, with additional music by Melody. A big shout out to our sponsor, IXL. Check them out at ixl.com/inclusive. We truly appreciate each and every one of you who tunes in. We'd love to hear how you're using these episodes. Are they part of your teaching toolkit? Are you sharing them with school administrators? Have you recommended a specific episode to anyone? Drop me a line at tviegas@mcie.org and let me know. And hey, if you're still around with us this far into the episode, it probably means that you love Think Inclusive and the work that MCIE is doing. So can I ask a small favor? Help us keep the momentum going by donating at our website, mcie.org. Go to the top of the site, there's a donate button there, and chip in $5, $10, $20. It would mean the world to us and the children in the schools and districts we partner with. Thanks for your time and attention, and remember folks, inclusion always works. From MCIE.